Mankivsky.
Here.
Mr. Kleisner.
Here.
Dr. Lawler.
Here.
Mr. McCauley.
Here.
Mr. Cook and Mrs. Simmons are absent.
Okay, with 5 members present, we do have a quorum. Is there anything that the board would like to move from consent to new business? Okay. I will be amending the new business item J5 to the approval of the addition to the approval of additional 3.0 FTE paraprofessionals to support remote contract school psychologists and occupational therapist positions. So at this time, I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So amended.
Oh, excuse me, as amended, forgive me. Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Kleisner.
Aye.
Mr. McCauley.
Aye.
Dr. Lawler.
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. Mankivsky.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. The agenda is approved. It's now time for the board and superintendent salutes, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Layden.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, board members, audience. Great to see you tonight. Our salute tonight we have is going to be student-based from Sarah Slattery, our student ambassador. So Sarah, if you don't mind, if you could please go to the mic and share some welcome back thoughts from a student perspective. And just while Sarah's going up there, we had our welcome back for staff today. So we had all of our staff, everybody was in attendance. Then, as I shared last time, we have students on Wednesday. So Sarah's going to be sharing a little bit of her perspective from a student, what she's looking forward to.
As students return to school, we will start to envision the next 10 months and how they'll go. We prepare ourselves with school supplies and new clothes, but we will also prepare ourselves mentally for the challenge to come. As a senior myself, I've already started planning for homecoming, my classes, and even my graduation party. The thoughts of how this is my last year at Kaneland constantly run through my mind and how I must cherish these last 10 months to the fullest. At the same time, I need to slow down these thoughts and live in the moment. If I think too fast or too far ahead, these moments will go by in a flash. Going back to school can spark different emotions for each student. Some will feel joy, others anxiety or resentment. But whether you're excited to go back or not, it's that time of the year when we come together as one school district and persist through challenges and try to enjoy every second. So, welcome back to Kaneland and have a great school year.
Thank you, Sarah.
And maybe if we can just take a moment to welcome Sarah to joining us for this year. We appreciate having you and look forward to all your insight you're going to bring to the table. So, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. That was all we had for salutes for tonight.
Okay. Dr. Bogan? Nothing tonight? Okay. Well, tonight's consent agenda contains the following information. The approval of the treasurer's report from July 2024, the approval of minutes of the July 29th, 2024 regular meeting, approval of personnel, approval of destruction of audio recordings from closed session meetings from February 2023, approval not release closed session minutes from January through June 2024, and the following informational item, the Freedom of Information Act report. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent items listed.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. McCauley.
Aye.
Dr. Lawler.
Aye.
Mr. Mankivsky.
Aye.
Mr. Kleisner.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. The consent agenda is approved. Okay. Public comments. Do we have anyone signed up? Okay, with no one signed up for public comments, I will skip the spiel and repeat it again if we have them. There will be a second opportunity at the end of the meeting to have public comments, so if you want to engage, feel free to sign up and we'll be happy to hear from you. Okay. First item of new business is the presentation of the primary first responder services for Kaneland High School. And Dr. Layden, I'll turn it over to you to introduce.
Yes, thank you. As you can see, it doesn't take very long to notice. We have several new guests tonight at our board meeting. There's been a lot of conversation and collaboration over the last 4 to 6 weeks or so. Just as a reminder, our Board of Education back August 28th of 23 brought this topic as a topic for future agenda to look into the first responder services to Kaneland High School. And over the last couple months, as I shared, we've had several meetings with Chief Tyndall and other chiefs from across the county and across the school district. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Chief Tyndall from Caneville, make sure I get all my names right. Chief Tyndall from Caneville, he's going to share an update, share some of the conversation, and where we currently are on the status for first responders to Kaneland High School.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Lee.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me, school board. Appreciate it. Everybody in the audience, that I have my, the rough crowd in there that's gonna heckle me here and there. They'll keep me on task. So, yeah, we had some wonderful meetings to start with on some discussions of security items and responses and things like that, just to make sure that we're all in shape and being able to respond to the Kaneland High School, the Fox Valley Career Center, and anything that would happen out in the surrounding areas for the high school. So the title slide lists all the other departments that are around that have buy-into it, our partnership that we have with it, between us, with Big Rock, with Elburn, with Sugar Grove, and Maple Park. All of us either have students going there, or we have an operations plan, an auto aid, and a mutual aid, everything that goes together with it, depending on what level that you have with it. So what we all value Kaneland High School to be is a very high-value target area. It's a target hazard, especially because of the students. The students are very important to us. We want to make sure they're safe, you know, throughout the whole school day, through school events, after school events, as well as travel to and from going through. So those are our responses that we're looking for, that we're trying to address. Many situations, many scenarios that go through, from EMS medical ones to fire ones to rescue ones to a whole bunch of other gamuts on the law enforcement side that we have with it. So our partnership with the law enforcement side also brings in our components that we have from TRICOM and KingCom. We have my KingCom contingent here to keep me advised on any dispatches we go, as well as updates and upgrades and things to our response that we can push forward on. So we're looking to do all the high risk or risk reduction planning, so we can minimize those risks as fast as we can with any kind of response. So again, our partnerships that we had, make sure I don't get in everybody's way, is Caneville, Big Rock, Elburn Countryside, Maple Park, Sugar Grove, the Mavis community, which is all the fire departments around. So Mavis stands for Mutual Aid Box Alarm System, but it's its own little private entity, which we all belong to. So we're all part members of Mavis. So besides just these fire departments that are involved with it, you're looking at all the fire departments that are in DeKalb, all the ones that are in McHenry, all the ones in Grundy and Kendall, you know, all around us. We're all in Mavis. So if we have such a huge incident, then they would be coming. And to give you a quick story, back in the day when I was working on the fire department, we had a plane coming in distress at the Aurora Airport for emergency landing, and I immediately went to a 5th level box. So that's going to take all the initial fire departments and fire districts coming, as well as all those other ones coming, dumping everything in quick. So we have that capability. KingCom 911 is where the 911s go, and they're on the ball for us, and they do the dispatching. So over the weekend, it was a good test plan for all of us, because we had an automatic fire alarm there that set off. KingCom got the call, and as they're receiving the call and getting the info, they already see in our responses that we have Elburn and Sugar Grove do, which are TRICOM ones, so they're on the phone to TRICOM already. So they were being dispatched and given the info, is they're still taking the call before we even got toned out. And that all happened within that, I would say, less than 90 seconds. So it was an awesome call for it. The Sheriff's Office, I have a little bit of report up there. I did 33 years on the Sheriff's Office. So I was in charge of all the emergency services when I decided to retire. So it's great. And then the school district and the Fox Valley Career Center, working with Dr. Bogan and Dr. Layden, has been great, just in the short time and stuff, with the history that I have with the other instructors and the other personnel. There's been a great experience, as well as being able to continue that partnership forward with everything that we can do.
And excuse me one second, just board members, as you have questions as we move along, please feel free to ask Chief Tyndall any questions. One of the things we talked about was, in education, we have our education vernacular that we use regularly. So if you have questions on what an acronym or any of those terms are, please feel free. I asked Chief Tyndall to be ready to answer those as well, just so that we can make sure we have the same working knowledge and background as we have this discussion tonight.
Yes, so keep me on task with all that, because I'll start using some other things that these guys would be like, no, address that. So, but yeah, the school district that we talk about, in conjunction with all of us and working with all the fire drills. We had a meeting on October 1st that Dr. Bogan helped that coordinated all of us, you know, and that's a task just to get all of us in the same room, you know, that we can. But the fire drills we have to do, or you guys have to do, that we're participants in with the bus evacuation drills, the shelter-in-place drills, all of those drills as well as the inspections, meeting our cohorts, you know, for who's in charge of the facilities that are there, the buildings and grounds, so we can all come to a consensus of, you know, good times, communications, making sure we have everybody's number, names, face-to-face dealing, so that way when we show up, it's not a who are you kind of thing, that when we show up, then it's like, oh yeah, glad you're here kind of stuff, so. But we're also looking to help with the sheriff's office with just the travel to and from. The speed reduction signs out front, the stop signs, but if we could be more of a presence, especially on the beginning school days, the inclement weather days and that kind of stuff. So, and my other goal is to be continuous communications with you guys as the board. So if you guys have an issue, you can check with Dr. Layden, Dr. Bogan, they can call me, or you guys can call me direct. You can have my number, email, text, anything like that. I will respond 24 hours a day, most of the time, right? Okay, that's what you're here for. You gotta agree with me on something. So, but yeah, as much as I can. But if it's not me, that's why they're all here. So we have Elburn, Big Rock, Maple Park, and Sugar Grove here. Again, our partners, to where if you can't get a hold of me and you have questions, then you can reach out to them, and we're all on the same page that we're working on. So our initial things, our initiatives that we started at Caneville, that we have with it, currently we have an unmanned station. We're not staffed. It's all volunteer from where it goes. When they asked me to join, it was, hey, can you help us out? Because they had some things that they wanted to move forward on their own. And I'm like, sure, I can do that. So it took me a little bit after retiring, and then getting to know the guys and seeing the flow and the responses and stuff. So then I had my thoughts, and then in July, so just last month, not even a full month ago, I was appointed as the chief. But I had the ideas, and the board's like, go ahead and go. So working with all the fire departments that I've had in the past, it made it even easier because of the support that they've given me. So we're going from an unmanned station that we will be staffing it. It's going from a non-transport BLS, which is basic life support. So it's the first line of defense for emergency medical care past the first responder levels. So a little bit more advanced that you have with it. And in doing so, we're going to get an ambulance. So that ambulance that will come will start out being BLS, and then eventually we're going to keep pushing it, and we're going to upgrade it to ALS care. So advanced cardiac life support that we can do, PALS care, but that's all in the advanced life support care that we can establish. So just to make sure that I point her out too, with Stephanie Hansen's here with Southern Fox System. She's the one that we will work and have been working closely with for years. Does a wonderful job for us in helping us to attain our goals and to get us up and make sure that we're doing it the right way, and then it's going to be sustainable. So, because I don't want to just dump a bunch of stuff in and then not be able to sustain it. So she's going to make sure that we're on board with that, or holding us to task that we're on board with all the policies, because we have to be. But we will advance that level of care up.
So I got a question for you. So you said right now you're an unmanned station, correct?
Correct.
Okay. If you have an emergency, walk me through it. What is the response time, and where are they coming from? Where are they getting vehicles? How are the other departments
Yes.
contacted?
So in regards to that, so I should say previously they were unmanned, unstaffed. Now we're starting to keep 2 people there minimum, if not 3, and as we build it out. So we've been able to do that. To answer your question with the map, I think you guys have it in your packet too. Where our current station's at, all the dark green areas are the 0 to 4 minute response times. That's if that station's staffed. So currently, and that was one of the problems that we addressed, is we are not staffed, so that 4 minute response time to get here is not a true 4 minutes. That's once we leave the station, we can get there. So I needed to decrease that time of response from the people to get to the station and then get the rigs out. So with it being staffed for what we need, we can at least push out our first line of apparatus that we need to meet this response area here. The next one in the light green, which is where Kaneland's at, is the 4 to 6 minute response time. So again, on the call that we had Saturday for the automatic fire alarm, by the time that we were dispatched by KaneCom and pushing it out with the TRICOM contingent that was coming, we were on the scene. We were en route in less than a minute. We were on the scene, I think, in that 4 to 6 minute, which is right about 5 minutes, just shy of it. Elburn was on the scene within their response time that they come here. I think we were right at 6 minutes too, right? So right after us, that we had multitude of things coming in. And everybody else just filtered in after that. So we had enough response to start answering and addressing the issues. And then everybody else would either stage or go to their locations that we would assign them.
So you're saying you and Elburn have the same, if we have an incident at the high school, you both have the same response time, or who has the quickest response time?
We currently do. Yep. So even right now with, like I say, we're addressing the staffing thing, that's why we have people there now, so that way that we could be there quicker in that 4 minutes.
And when you say implementing, how much time, how many are you trying to add, and what is the time frame on that?
My goal is to get at least 3 always staffed on there, so that way we can run an engine or an ambulance. It would be a jump company, and we would still continue on mutual aid from the other departments, and then eventually get another 2, so we're up to 5. So we'll have an engine and ambulance frontline staffed. So, and then if the ambulance does go out, then we would have a change of quarter ambulance come in to backfill our station. Same with an engine. So that way, if we leave, then either Elburn, Sugar Grove, Big Rock, Maple Park could all then send an engine in. But if it's to Kaneland, then we're all going to be there to begin with, most likely anyways. So.
Can you explain what change of quarter ambulance means, please?
Yes. So where our station currently is in town, to where if we send that out, because we could actually be dispatched to another ambulance call somewhere else, and then another ambulance would come in and park. It's in our facility, in our station, and they would sit there and wait, and if any other calls come up, then they would address that from there, instead of coming from their locations. So.
And Chief, at this current time, the emergency response coming from Caneville now would be BLS at this time, correct?
Correct.
And the goal is to expand that out with ALS certified?
Correct.
Okay, and then Elburn, who was a minute behind on Saturday coming, they are staffed with ALS, correct?
Correct. Yeah, they have ALS engines and ambulances also. Same with Sugar Grove.
Okay.
Big Rock, you guys have engines? Okay, so ALS ambulances, BLS squads and stuff that will come out and support us, and then Maple Park the same. So.
That was one of my questions. In regards to response, and you're gonna have to forgive me because I'm far removed from your industry and understanding the complexity of BLS versus ALS. To what degree does, let's say school starts on Wednesday and we have an incident on Wednesday, to an extreme degree, if you will, for lack of a better term, what does an ALS give us versus BLS in terms of quality of care in a condensed amount of time?
Yeah, is a quick thing. It gives you advanced cardiac life support, so it gives you extra drugs and cardiac capability. Whereas on the BLS side, we could do defibrillation, but we can't do pacing, we can't cardiovert, but we can defibrillate with it. And then we can give some meds, initial frontline meds, epinephrine, Narcan, things that you have in that regards. And we can also do some airways, basic airways, not the advanced airways for endotracheal intubations, but we would do eye gels. A lot of times BLS care, BLS airways are adequate for the care as long as we have a patent airway. If we can maintain that airway, having a little bit less is probably better than an aggressive evasive airway insertion kind of thing, but that's usually up to the paramedic. So at times, myself as a paramedic, that I would start with the BLS airway before I went up to the endotracheal tubes or the advanced airways. And if I could maintain that and have good patient outcome that I knew that was going to be there, that may be what I stick with. But if I couldn't, then I want to innovate and I want to go to an advanced airway.
So as it stands right now, if this being, you said that the BLS has been implemented and you had that 1 minute advance response, the ALS resources are about a minute behind if we needed to,
Yes.
needed it, if
Yes.
okay,
And that was in this case. They could be faster the next time.
okay.
So it just depends on the scenario as to what we're doing. Like I say, Elburn may be out, and then we get a shift of things, coming in. Maple Park may be out. Any of us may be out, but that's where we all know that somebody's out, and we're shifting the resources around, like a chess game, that we have with it, making strategic moves to where we have the stuff that's going to be more centrally located and more earlier access and available. So.
Thank you.
Okay. So our hope with these initiatives, again, with the response time decreasing, and I think that's proven with it. There's a few other things because I still don't like the 4 to 6 minute response time. I believe I can get that down probably to about a 3-minute response time. That's just gonna take me a little bit more. I've shared a little bit with Dr. Layden what I can, but we'll continue to work on that with communications, so we'll keep working with those things, I suppose. Best way to stop at that. Severe weather increases, so if we know severe weather's coming in, tornadoes, thunderstorms, anything like that, we're gonna increase our staffing at the station, so we're not just gonna have the limited, we'll start bringing in more people, and that's just normal. Same with inclement weather, especially during the first snows. Anytime at the sheriff's office, we know that we're having bad weather, then I would start pulling more people in and have a contingency plan that even more we could pull back off shifts and come in. That's the same thing that we're gonna be doing at Caneville. Special events, we will be on site. We like working with our partners that we have with things and putting a sign up so everybody gets a share of the pie if they want. If they're on scene, they're there for the athletes and the coaching staff is the primary. The stands and the participants and spectators and stuff like that are secondary. We'll take care of that. If it's a emergency ALS kind of care, then whoever that ambulance is that will be there until we upgrade, we'll take care of that, and we will already have another ambulance coming in to fill that spot when that ambulance leaves, so that way that there'll always be one there or there within a short amount of time. So, and then our response plan upgrades, that's the big thing that we're working on. I need to work more with the building and grounds just for the water tower system. I know it's got some decent pressure. I need to know how much it could kind of withstand. So in the interim, with our response plan that we've done, we're adding in a bunch of tenders, which are water tanks that we're bringing in, the portable water tanks and everything else, because if we pull that draft too much, we might pull on that system that I want to have extra water there. Because once we flow water, we want to maintain that flow for whatever we need for any kind of emergency. So usually if you're thinking of a fire, if it's a 10 by 10 room, within 30 seconds that fire can double. So a 10 by 10 room is going to need my quick math, you guys can check me on it, is like 30 to 35 gallons of water that I might need to put it out. So that's pretty easy. 30 seconds, it's going to double. Now I need 66, you know, and it's going to keep doubling. So in less than 2 minutes, it could be over 500 gallons a minute that I'm going to need. So that's the kind of stuff that we're planning for and processing. So hopefully we can avoid that, as well as, like I say, on the EMS side. So we're stacking those boxes to where it goes from our response plans into our box cards, which I'll show you here shortly what they are and explain to that for those responses. So this is our
Can I ask you-
initial.
Can I ask you a question really quick?
Yep.
So, I'm also very ignorant to a lot of this. Can you put 4 to 6 minutes in context for me? I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around what that means, right? It seems like a really long time, but maybe it's not. I don't know. So
Yes.
Can you?
So,
yeah.
so it's a, if you're the one having the emergency, it's a lot longer. It's like 15 to 20 minutes or longer that you get that time skew of just waiting and doing nothing else. So it's like if you're going on a trip and somebody's starting to count out how long it takes you to get there, it seems like it just takes longer now. That kind of context. For us, as we're moving, it seems like we're there almost immediately because we're moving through it. So we're looking for that 4 to 6 minutes and actually under 4-minute response time, because a structure fire can be fully involved in a house about 2,500 square feet in 4 minutes. Or cardiac arrest, if they're out and nobody's done anything, then you get, could have biological death within 4 minutes, 4 to 6 minutes as it's going through there. So we can keep them in a clinical death state, and hopefully they don't go into a biological death state where the brain cells start to die. So that's our goal of that 4-minute response time, or 4 to 6 minutes, that everybody has. And nationwide, it's very difficult to come across because it all depends on the funding and the money. So being strategic with the resources that we have and station planning and things like that definitely makes a big difference.
Thank you.
So.
Are there any, and this may be a question for you and Dr. Bogan, but is there any collaboration with these departments in terms of ensuring we have qualified people in the building to administer CPR for a cardiac situation? You know, do we have designated individuals where, hey, so-and-so is having a heart attack, we need you to administer? Because I was researching heart attacks recently, and those first few minutes / seconds are crucial. I mean, are we collaborating with the departments to ensure we have people in the building that can administer at least that
Yeah.
first?
Yeah, Dr. Bogan, can you give a little bit of an update from, not necessarily the first responder meeting, but just across our building with our nursing staff and our trained staff, because again, at Ignite, we have the opportunity for staff members to get trained. Do you have, it might be putting you on the spot, but an idea, a loose number of how many people avail themselves to that training?
I would need to do some research on those exact numbers, but I know the individual who does the training is in the audience today, and last year when she did it, it filled up immediately, and she had full training sessions, so people in our buildings, our staff do take advantage of that. We do have nurses in all of our buildings, and we also have AEDs in all of our buildings. More importantly, I think for this year, the state recently rolled out a new requirement that will take effect January of 2025, and so we are currently working on partnering with our local responders because the new law requires that every individual, every staff member in a school building is trained, not necessarily certified, but trained on how to use an AED and trained on how to administer CPR. So that's an initiative that we're working very, very closely on to roll that out. But currently we do have staff members in each of our buildings that have been trained on AED and CPR.
And with that state mandate of January 1, those numbers are just going to grow exponentially as we put together the plan to get staff trained.
And that includes, it's a written plan that we need to have. We also need to have a team, that's part of that planning and part of that response, as well as the training piece for it.
Yep. So yeah, so that was a big discussion. We have a pool of instructors amongst all of us. Janella was going to bring up, she comes up in the next few slides, where we go through with the EMS stuff and helping with the Fox Valley Career Center for the EMS division, the law enforcement division, as well as the fire science divisions and things. So, and then back to the response cards that we have with it. This is our initial response that we would fill out for KCOM. So that way that they know that if we're here, then we'll tell them what type of call, what kind of response, how much stuff they want, so how many engines, ambulances. Tenders are the big water tanks that we get. Trucks are the ones with the big ladders on it. So when you hear everybody usually say, hey, well, there goes a fire truck, it's probably an engine, unless it has a ladder attached you can manipulate and articulate. Squads, chiefs, special equipment that we have with it, and then the old COQs, change of quarters. So backfill and coming in. So then we list everybody in here for our response, so that way when KCOM pulls it up, they take these and enter it into the computer, into our CAD system, computer-aided dispatching, and it gives them all the priorities of everything that we need. So they know District 3 is Kaneland, it's a high priority thing, so they're moving quick on every call anyways. They just know that when they see that, they're gonna get a lot of extra things that we're gonna be needing out there versus a house fire or just an ambulance call or something else. So it's already coded out, so like I say, the one that we just had, they were pushing out with TRICOM already before, we were even toned, and that's all happening almost simultaneously that we have with it, so. And then this shifts into our box cards, so this is the next level of things. So all that on that card will fall right up in the top two areas here, and then we build out the whole bottom portions of it. So it depends on the box level, first level, second level, all the way down to fifth level we have. And then 3 choices of interdivisional agencies or division boxes. So it depends on how big of an incident we get. If we get that tornado that just missed us a couple weeks ago, July 15th, then if that happened to hit something, then we would probably start doing that box. But if we're starting to use it, somebody close by in that box may be also affected and may not be able to send things. So we have contingencies all built into it, so then they can just go right to the next one and keep adding to it. So. That speeds up the process of us working with them and everybody together of who's responding, and if you can't send something or whatever else, then you just tell them right away and they go to the next. It's all pre-planned, pre-thought out for every incident that we have with it. So our things that we've also started implementing besides just started doing it with the staffing is the cadet program. So Janelle, who teaches out at the Career Center, is the EMS. Brought her on to help with the cadet program. I know the other agencies also have cadet programs, so that helps all the departments with their homegrown talent that we have that go to Kaneland to give them some place to go, something to look forward to, especially the ones that want to be, fire EMS, and we kind of want to encourage anybody. So if anybody in the audience wants to take an application, then I can take that after we're done too, right? So whatever we can do to encourage it, because it's fun and exciting. I mean, it's a little math, a little science, you know, all the stuff that we maybe dread in school or really appreciate, right? So it puts it all together, because you're going to need it. So we look forward to it. Our EMT course that we have in the fall, and when I say late fall, because when you get out west, we do a lot of farming. So we have a lot of people that are at the farmlands and harvest. So it's right after harvest, and it will go through. So we're beefing up our staffing for the harvest to where it won't bother us, and then those that are after it will take that EMT course from any of the agencies that are around. And Janelle's one of the lead instructors that we have with it. So that just, again, strengthens that the bond and partnership that we have with it. Working at the Career Center, whether it be on-site or off-site, that we do a lot of things with, helping the teachers learn CPR, learn stop the bleed, learn how to give Narcan, all that stuff. We can all facilitate that, and we'll all partner up and continue to do that, programs that we have with it. So we'll work with Dr. Bogan, and she's been very receptive to it. So law enforcement, working with their drills for the lockdowns, you know, that you have in the schools, the shelter in places. We'll work with those. You know, those were one of my main things that I did back in the day for many years. So I have a little more insight on some of those things and how we can merge together and be a little better. We're working on a drill in the fall, so that way we can have that where it's both law enforcement will be there, all the fire guys will be there, and we'll do it to be just a slow walkthrough. So all the other guys, all the members from every department get familiar with each other, and then we can see what we're doing, so that way it's not just a mass chaos. We're taking our steps. We did one 2 years ago. We've been working in between for some other things. Now we're involving a little bit more bigger contingent. So the hospital with Steph in the system will be there to, you know, let us know we're working into that mass casualty plan. So if we have something big, we need to let them know right away so that they can call in extra resources, because it's just not a Kaneland thing then. It's going to be hospital-related things and where we need to go with stuff. So all the resources on the backside, back end of it, we need to take care of. So. And again, I want to reiterate the constant communication with you guys. So I'll be at as many meetings as I can, just in case something happens and you do have a little question here and there. Then we can address it and just keep on building up from there. So. These are our timeline and goals that we have with this stuff. See if I can remember them all. Delivery of the ambulance confirmation. So I'm hoping before the end of the month that I have the actual date of when we're getting the ambulance in-house. The board meeting is supposed to be tonight from the other agency that we would be getting it from. I've been working with Stephanie at the system already. She's given me all the paperwork to fill out, so I've been starting to fill it out, so I'll get it back to her. So we'll start working on that to get it transitioned from a non-transport to a transport. And then once we get the ambulance in, then that's part of what Janelle's helping with also, and our personnel is we need to stock it with all the BLS care that we have. We'll do an in-service within 2 weeks of getting it in, so that timeline's moving pretty quick from that. From the time of delivery to be able to stock it and get the in-service should be quick. And then with the system, contacting the state, making sure that we're good with our switch over from the non-transport to transport, and then getting it inspected to BLS. And then after that, then we'll start running at BLS, and it's more so to get everybody familiar with ambulance operations and transporting, to make sure that's all set and stable, and then making sure that we can sustain it, and then we'll upgrade it to the ALS care that we have with it. So all of this is my plan to be able to do within the year. So by next school year, my hope and goal is that we're ALS. If I can do it sooner, we'll see how things go or whatever else, and that's always a better goal that we have with it. But being able to push it out, make sure we can sustain it, and make it useful for everything. Any other questions or anything?
So in terms of resources and equipment, one of the things that I'll be honest, the only thing I care about is the kids and the employees in the school. I want to make sure that we have the quickest response. We've had incidents. We had the motorcycle incident at the beginning of last year, and we've had various things that happen. Do you feel that you have the adequate resources and equipment necessary to do whatever would need to be done in the shortest amount of time?
I do.
Given the other options, I guess I should say, or the other resources around?
Yes. So right now, all those resources are going to be coming anyways and be helping us. even if we get to the ALS level, a lot of those resources, we're still sticking with those responses. It would just be the individual ambulance call kind of thing. That would be the only thing that would change, that we could back down slightly on from some of the resources or responses that we have with it. So we wouldn't need extra ambulances all coming in and doing things. We would still do a change of quarters. We would be able to go up there and handle the individual things. But if it's a motor vehicle crash, accident, anything that you have with it usually involves two vehicles, could be a single one, multiple patients, then we would have multiple ambulances still coming in, depending on what information's given to Kanecom and how we get the dispatch. Then we immediately upgrade that from just a single ambulance response to a multi apparatus kind of response. So multiple ambulances, multiple engines or squads, things for extrications. So yes, I think that what we have, I think everything will continue on, is the best response for the school and for the students.
So as it stands right now, you have an ambulance coming that will be, it'll be your ambulance. We'll no longer have to outsource to.
Correct.
And nothing against other departments, but it'll be a localized ambulance there, and you'll be fully staffed, or not, I shouldn't say fully staffed, but you'll be staffed 24 hours a day, as opposed to, my late mother-in-law was a volunteer firefighter for her community, and, you know, they were an isolated community with 30 minutes from any other form, and
Right.
she would take calls, and I remember we'd be sitting there on the couch, or we'd be out in the backyard, and she'd get the call, she'd have to jump in her truck, run over to the ambulance, and then run to the call. And
Right.
when I think about that from the perspective of the students and the school, that's really where my fear lies. And so you're telling me that we'll have people there in the station waiting for calls to respond at any time?
And I would say yes. The problem is if we get called out for another call that we're just leaving, and Kaneland calls immediately right after that, there's gonna be that change. That would be the slow response time. Most likely, it's not gonna happen, but I can't say always. So I can't give you definites, but we will have people in there that will be able to respond to the ambulance immediately, just like the other agencies. And as things go, then we will transition apparatus to help each other out to where we can make sure that we keep those response goals in place. So whether we have the ambulance now or where we don't have it currently, I think you have the best response plan in there because the other stuff that's still coming. But yes.
And in terms of the timeline, and and please don't feel like I'm questioning you in any way, but you're confident definitively that this will get done, that because it's for me it's difficult because promises are made all the time, or, you know, expectations are set, and then when it's time for things to actually come to fruition, something comes up. You know, we
Right.
see it all the time. We have a change order tonight on one of our projects, so something came up. Yeah, your degree of confidence in getting to this point is strong?
Very high.
Okay.
Strong to high, very high. Whatever you think the max is, that would be it. I think it's easily being able to accomplish it. I believe we can do that. I've set the year out just to make sure that we have that stability. I think we could do it in less, but I have to, you know, some of the confidence that you have with other people, just to make sure that it's there for them. But yeah, I have that confidence that we can do it. I've done it. I know when I was on Cherry Grove back in the day, we did it, and there was some people that were not sure that we can do this. I'm like, I believe we can, and we did, and they're like, I'll be darned, we can. You know, they've got 3 ambulances now. When I started there, they had the one, and it was same thing, respond to the station, you know, and we just kept moving forward with the plan to go from a volunteer department to a staff department to a full-time paid district employees, so.
Chief, I know you talked about it a little bit, and one of the questions that came up previously was the communication between, excuse me, Kanecom and TRICOM. Can you explain a little bit how that works and how that's been a process that is evolving and being perfected still?
Yes, so remember the response card that we had back there? I can flip back to it. Can I go back? Maybe I can't go back. I'll try this. A little power helps everything. This card that we built out for Kanecom to be able to know who we're pulling from, and they put them in the CAD. Previous to this, it was a list of, you know, I want 3 engines, a truck, a squad, and a chief. Didn't say who. So that put a lot back on the dispatchers of going, I kind of know the area, so I got to hunt and peck and find somebody to fill those roles. So this will, one, speed it up. The other portions of it is the CAD system. So right now, when they get a call, then they get a hold of TRICOM on the phone and say, hey, we have a request for Caneville, and this is where it's at, so they're doing it. They're developing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle, too, the CAD to CAD things to where their CAD, when they get it, if it involves TRICOM CAD, then it will be an automatic, kick over and they'll know. So.
I can touch on that. Hi there, Michelle Guthrie, I'm the director of Kaneland.
Sure.
Ma'am, if we could, if you don't mind, sorry, just because it's being recorded.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi there, I'm Michelle Guthrie, I'm the director of CaneCom. Yes, so currently, 911 calls from Kaneland route to CaneCom. Calls are routed for 911 with police priority. So because we dispatch for the Kane County Sheriff's Office, any calls from 911 typically route to CaneCom first, and we also dispatch for Caneville Fire. So we take that information, we dispatch the appropriate resources, and to make the process work faster with the mutual aid agencies around us, we applied for a grant from the state of Illinois for some funding that will allow us to share information through the computer-aided dispatch system with a click of a button. I'm fairly certain we're receiving that grant. I was on a call today, so that project will be in progress, and we look to have that implemented within maybe by next year, because I think that's the restrictions on the funding. So as we talk about the emergency response plans, we already have this information configured in our computer-aided dispatch system, so everything is built for efficiency for 911. So we get the call, it's listed on there for our resources, we quickly start making phone calls as well as dispatching the fire department immediately. So any questions you have about that process, I'm happy to answer. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I appreciate, you come up and you're speaking and telling us your plans, your implementation, and then I see 5, 6 other chiefs out here. I know I can't bring them up, but I would love to hear their perspective, because, I mean, this is a pretty big thing. I have my oldest son is at the high school, and life is important, it's precious, and my whole thing is, you're all wearing the same uniform, you're all doing the same thing. I want the quickest team out there. But it makes me nervous when I hear implementation, I'll be honest with you. There's projections, there's what ifs. We can do, and this is our time. And that's kind of where I'm at. And I would love to interview all you guys and be like, ask the same questions, but I know you can't.
Mr. McCullough, we actually just discussed that at this time, we'd like to invite anyone from any other department who would like to come and add or speak on behalf of the subject. We're happy to hear. This is the time to discuss all this stuff, work out all the details, hear any response.
There's one
Of
more
course.
thing I forgot to touch on.
Once it comes up, that's part of the reason why I invited all the chiefs.
Yes.
Yeah,
Just so you can see the partnership. It wasn't just me telling you things.
sure.
It's that they're all buying in, and I would love for them to come up and share too.
Just one more thing I would like to touch on from the 911 perspective is all of our 911 telecommunicators are emergency medical dispatch certified. They have EMD certification, which means if any staff member, if any caller calls with an ambulance request, CPR, an injury, a fall, an insect bite, anything, we have a card set of protocols, which actually Southern Fox EMS signs off on those protocols, where we guide the caller through those medical directions while we're dispatching police and fire to the incident. So that's just a part of the process that we haven't talked about. So obviously it's very important that everybody gets CPR certified, but if someone's not CPR certified and they call us, we're gonna walk them through those instructions, and we're not gonna get off the phone until first responders are on scene. So I just wanted to touch on that as well. And you're always welcome. TRICOM is the other dispatch center that we work with very closely as well. But if you guys have any questions on the process, you're always welcome to reach out and come for a tour. We'd be happy to have you.
So,
Thank you.
real quick question. So with
Yes.
TRICOM, so you'll receive the 911 call, and then will you also push that information out to TRICOM as well, just so they know what's going on, and then?
Yes, if we have agencies that are dispatched by TRICOM that are due on the response, then we contact them right away and we get them en route.
Okay.
Now, as chief redoes his emergency response plans, I'll be honest, previously, there are types of incidents that agencies from TRICOM were not included on.
Yeah.
So we didn't always reach out to them as part of that response.
Got it.
But as he redoes his emergency response protocols, and they are listed on there, that's not something our telecommunicators have to think about. It is listed right there for them. That immediately initiates a phone call, and we have everybody going as quickly as possible. The CAD-to-CAD I spoke about, that just kind of saves the phone call.
Yeah.
That's just a push of a button. It's system where we're working together, but currently that's a phone call right now.
Okay.
So as long as they're due, we're calling them, and they're en route.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think our goal, if I may speak on behalf of the board, our goal is purely to look after these students. And so, to me, an ideal situation would be a fully collaborative effort on everybody's part to ensure we have the maximum amount of resources, the best resources in place to make sure we're responding to these calls. I always say the students because my focus is on the kids, but Dr. Layden, Dr. Bogan, the people that are in the buildings.
Staff as well.
Yeah, anyone, visitors. Our goal is to just make sure we have the best resources, and honestly, we're fortunate in that we live in an area where we have quality people, we have quality agencies, and so I think it behooves us to take opportunity of the strengths from those different agencies. So
Quickest capable response.
from our perspective, that's for me, that's purely been the motivation for this. Making sure that we have.
Quickest capable response.
Right.
So, and I was privileged to be able to sit in on some of these conversations that we had outside of the board meetings. And I really did enjoy the collaboration and learning more about TRICOM and CANCOM and kind of how these things all do collaborate with each other. Because even though Caneville as AHJ, right? Am I correct? Acronym?
Absolutely. Authority
Having jurisdiction. So even though, it doesn't mean just their dispatch, they're the only ones that are gonna show up, they're just gonna be, lone wolves out there. Everybody's getting dispatched. If they're unavailable, obviously the communication with Alburn or whoever's closest, or, even if there's, whatever, an ambulance that's out and about, or maybe you're at Jewel doing some shopping for dinner or whatever, they're gonna get it, and they're gonna shoot right over to the high school as well. So I think for me, that was kind of more of the deeper understanding of how all of these things are already interconnected. And then further, there was additional meetings that they had with each other to talk more about, how much more can they collaborate, and a lot of things that you've already shared tonight. So those are some of the bigger takeaways that I got out of it. It isn't just this firehouse at this, in this location that's the only one responding. Or if they can't respond, they have to make their own phone calls to tell somebody else, hey, we can't make it, or we're over here on a call already. Can you please send somebody else? Like, that's all happening, simultaneously. So that was the big, takeaway that I got out of the whole thing, is that there is a lot more collaboration than I think we probably understood or knew about, initially when this came up back in August.
Okay.
Yeah.
On that lines, and forgive me, I just don't know, it's more information gathering. It just seems like when I'm hearing collaboration, which I think is great, but it seems like it's slowing the process down. Walk me through this. Is it really slowing it down, or is it, how fast is this collaboration happening?
Fast. So it's how CANCOM has it, and then our pre-plans already. So all the departments already know what they're due on and when they're coming. So when they hear the tones going off, and the tones are the audible tones that you actually get in your station, they're starting to move. They're starting to move towards their apparatus so they can get dressed appropriately for whatever call that they have and moving out. So it's the goal of every, like I say, department is that 4 to 6 minute response time, response window to be there, because we know that's when the stuff happens to where it's hard to catch up from or whatever else. And I think that we all do still well with that. Our department, when you're asking about implementation, it's where we're going with the stuff. And I'd say I have 100% confidence that I know I can get you there in doing it. But I also have the best people coming to help too. That's not going to change. Even if I get us there, they're still coming anyways, because they're the ones that we trust our lives with, and everybody else. So you guys are getting the best care, and you will continue to get the best care. It's just a matter of advancing it forward. So like I say, tonight, the board meeting meets I'd already had consensus on, the ambulance getting a specific date or whatever else. That constant communication with you guys. As soon as I find out that delivery date of that ambulance, then I will let Dr. Layden know. And then he can push that out to you, and you guys can keep track of that timeline and, hold me to task on it. I know we can make it. I believe in it, and I'll do it. So.
And I think the other thing too is that say Elburn gets there first for whatever reason, just quicker response time that moment. It's not like they have to sit and wait for Caneville to get on scene to get directives of what they should probably start doing or anything like that. It's like they're going to get on scene, they're going to start doing what they're doing. Caneville is going to get on scene, they're going to collaborate who does what, when, why, and how. So again, another kind of interesting understanding. I never knew how any of this stuff worked. I just called 911 and somebody showed up and never really thought much about it. So there is a little bit more to it, and that's even being HJ, if Elburn's there first, they're just going to jump right into action, do whatever they need to do, and then the collaboration after that.
How about from a planning perspective? Because I assume, and I'm going to botch the acronym, but the head agency is what I'll call it.
Sure.
The
HJ.
AHJ.
I have to go back to my notes for that.
Because I'd imagine that planning is a big portion, a big part of response, your response tactic or whatever, your response plan. Are there degrees of quality of planning in your field? And do we have the best resources, or are you guys collaborating on building that plan, or as the AHJ, is it solely on you guys and then the other departments follow? Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Sort of. So, yes, so the degree of planning is heavy in all the areas, whether it be EMS, fire, or law enforcement response. So we all collaborate. So we're having an actual meeting in like a week and a half or so on the 21st at the school district, that if everybody can come, and if they can't, Dr. Bogan set up us a Zoom so people can conference call in. So we can have that meeting to discuss certain other levels of planning, more so for the drill. So making sure that we're covering everybody's objectives they want for it, but also it helps us, what areas did we miss in being able to pre-plan this event. Pre-planning is an awesome way to cheat, because if we knew the fire was in this room and we already kind of planned for it, we can pre-position vehicles outside. If the medical emergency is here, we know because we have all the doors already numbered. So that kind of advanced pre-planning helps us be able to speed everything along. And that's the goal with it. One of the things that I would mention, just as in the tactical part, is if anybody was in here and something bad happened, do you guys know what room that we're in that we could tell them? So what I look for is you got the numbers right on the door, right? To make sure that and it's easy to do, you got it on a piece of paper and taped to the door. You guys know that, so you get a substitute teacher in, that those are the things that we think about and we look at, and we'll project back to the school district for easy fixes, that way you guys can make sure your staff is known and up to date, as well as our staff. So when we go through, we have the map that we know this is 325, that we know that we have people in here that we can come in and either do the EMS call or a fire call or a rescue kind of call. So.
Thank you.
So this might be like a topics for a new agenda, I don't know if I'm on the wrong part of the meeting, but this has been fantastic. I really appreciate coming out. I would love to maybe have this become like an annual thing or even a semi-annual thing where like we just get updated on it so we feel like we're still in the know. I think uncertainty is the worst beast, right? Like that's what we always were worried about, right? So if you just can quell some of those fears for us, I think that really helps us.
Yes, that's why I say I will be at every meeting as much as that I can. If I won't, or that I'm not here for some reason or whatever else, then I'll have either another representative or one of the other chiefs, that could be here or something like that. Then they can attend and even if we're not on the agenda, you guys just have a questions and we'll come up and, answer it or get right back to you with it, so.
That's great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So. And the chiefs are still more than welcome to run on up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, while other chiefs or other representatives are coming up, I want to share a special note of thanks for the first responder meeting that we have in August, the follow-up meetings, and then this conversation that has taken place. I know Board Member Kleisner served on the committee, served on our conversations that we've had, and then each of these follow-up conversations as well just show what the Kaneland spirit is, what the Kaneland community is. when there's an issue or a topic, we rally, and as we had these concerns from our board, you guys have been very responsive, and we've appreciated that, not only with your results that we see that are taking place, but just your own internal conversations to make sure that you can answer what our concerns are as a school district. So we appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, my name is Mike Honeycomb, I'm the fire chief with the Elburn Countryside Fire Protection District. Matt Hansen's our deputy. We've obviously been very involved and engaged with you guys in the first responders meetings as well as with Chief Tyndall. You know, and with our board support, Tom Reynolds is here in the audience with us. You know, we will absolutely give the full support of the Elburn Fire District to the school. We've never, we will never withhold, we will never not respond. If we are called and asked, we will come. Even if we weren't supposed to, we'll figure it out later. That's kind of always been our mentality. We're not gonna play politics with children. We're not gonna, or students and staff. We are going to support. So with the full, we've got, you know, our 3 stations, 12 firefighters a day with the battalion chief. Every unit is ALS staffed. We will be here and we will support Caneville. So as long as we're called, we will be here. And I'm happy to take any questions you have about the Elburn Fire District.
So your response time too is 4 to 6?
We're just about 7 minutes,
Yeah, you were a little
you know,
more.
driving distance. So,
Okay.
our district's objective, and again, the school isn't in our district, but our district's objective is, our service delivery objective is 6 minutes, 80% of the time. So when we measure all of our responses, we run about 2,400 calls a year. We consistently measure ourselves against that standard to say, did we make it 6 minutes, 80% of the time? Because like Chief Tyndall had expressed, you know, brain is time, and the longer you're not breathing, the more unlikely it's gonna turn out well for you. So that's why we measure ourselves to that very specific standard.
And how many ambulances do you have?
We have 2 staffed ambulances. Occasionally, if we don't have so many people off on vacation days or injuries, we'll have a 3rd in service that runs out of Station 1, but that is not the majority of the time.
So when we first started this whole discussion, things were different, and changes have been made, as expressed tonight. And I'm probably putting you on the spot a little bit, but again, it's a very important topic. Are you comfortable with proceeding as a partnership entity with Caneville? Are you comfortable
Absolutely,
with
as we
proceeding?
would with anybody. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut
Yeah,
you off.
no. I'm just wondering, you know, things are different now, right? We were concerned about, number one, we're outsourcing the ambulances, and again, I know Big Rock's here is nothing against Big Rock, it's just it's physically the proximity to the school district that concerned us. There was nothing against that department whatsoever. But there was also the volunteer aspect that I think concerned us greatly. And so with these changes that have been proposed and under the assumption that they're gonna go through, has the perspective on the need changed from a different department's perspective?
I think if Caneville can implement the changes that they're trying to implement, and that Chief Tyndall is confident that he will, that you'll have, you know, that response time and the substantial increase of service that you probably did not have last August when you had originally asked your questions that you had inquired about. Again, we've committed that we will respond simultaneously. So even if the Big Rock ambulance is in service in 2 weeks or 3 months or 6 months, we will always send an ambulance. If you call, we'll send it. If you ask for the engine, we're gonna support it. And I'm extremely confident our people and the services that we can deliver and the training that we have is top notch. And we're happy to share that with the school district and with Caneville and collaborate and be partners, so.
Any other questions?
All right.
We're gonna hug later. We'll get you in there, Matt. So I have one of our board members here too, Paul Ross. So I definitely know I get the support of the board. I talk to them frequently, and again, I will be communicating with you guys through Dr. Layden. Unless you guys want to shoot me your number, I will call you guys and keep you up to date on everything, just like the other chiefs. I bother them all the time. I'll stop in their stations, drink their coffee. They got decent coffee, so anytime you guys want to stop by, let me know. We'll go to one of theirs. But yeah, the improvements that we have, the goals that we have are all collaborative from where we go through. I know we're going to make it there. We've had other discussions with continuing more development, like I say, not just with our responses up there, but also with helping with Fox Valley Career Center, even a little bit more. All the classes that we do with Dr. Bogan with the emergency response with all the teachers, we'll be there on all that. So I think you're going to see a different a different department than what you've seen before. So it was easy fixes. It just took me a little longer. I had knee surgery last June, so that's what kept me out of the ballpark for a little bit. So I can walk better than the patients. So I think these guys are better with that. So,
Well, thank you.
so
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.
And thank you to everyone who came out tonight. We appreciate this very much. I think this discussion needed to happen a while back, but, you know, we're here now. So, you know, as we proceed, we'll keep the line of communication open. And from a school district, we, again, appreciate that collaboration, because at the end of the day, it's not a political game. It's about the kids, it's about the staff, it's about people and lives.
Continuous improvement.
Right, right. So, there's no decision or action on this topic tonight. And given the degree of which we have audience attendance, I'm going to go ahead and read the spiel that I normally read back then. So the board appreciates everyone in attendance this evening and invites you to stay as we move into the new business part of the meeting, the further new business part of the meeting. But we understand that if everyone is not able to stay for the entire meeting, we want to make sure that you know it's an open meeting. So long story short, we appreciate you guys coming out. You're welcome to listen to the rest of our new business. It's exhilarating stuff, but our feelings won't be hurt if you want to get home to your families as we continue.
Thank you again for coming out. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, Adam.
The second item of new business is the approval of the change order for the KHS Track Improvements Project work. And I'm assuming we're going to turn it over to Dr. Bogan? Or you?
Yes.
Dr. Bogan.
That'll save us about 10 seconds. Right to Dr. Bogan.
Yes, thank you. Our Director of Buildings and Grounds, Mark Clayton, is here, as well as one of the engineers from Gaywalt Hamilton, Mr. Brian Wozolewski. They are going to go through most of this, but I just sort of wanted to give a little bit of a background regarding this change order that you see. I know I've spoken previously about some of the key challenges that this project has faced since we first began, being impacted by weather, soil conditions, additional substrate material, more deterioration on the east end of the track than we had originally anticipated, and then also some regulatory changes through King County and a change in stormwater retention. And so I won't go into great length, but we have received a total of 3 change orders for the current track project. And you will see after they go through this that the recommendation is to approve an up to amount. And so we will be asking you to approve up to a total amount for 2 out of the 3 change orders. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Payton and Mr. Wozolewski to walk through these change orders. And then as we go through this, if you have questions, feel free to ask either of them or myself for any clarifications or additional information. I'll turn it over.
Okay, basically, we've found the soil conditions, especially on the east end of the track project, to be worse than expected. We did do some soil borings, or not soil borings, but yeah, soil borings as this project was getting going. But as you are aware, tight time frame on the project, so we were kind of designing and hoping for the best, kind of a thing. And then we've had some substantial rains at one point that made everything soft and difficult to work with, so we were waiting for it to dry out. At some point, I think we've hit that point where it's as dry as it's kind of gonna be. We could let it sit and hope that it doesn't rain again and things like that. But we're not seeing the improvement that we would hope. I think we might be fighting some groundwater issues where it's coming up from the bottom, not necessarily rain from the top. But again, we're asking for an additional 51.5 up to 51.5, for some more undercuts and additional stone to try and shore up what's gonna be underneath the, finished track surface. In addition to that, change order number 2, that is primarily, driven by what the county is requiring from us for stormwater retention, based on the addition of the 2 inside lanes. Primarily, that's where the additional impermeable surface is coming from. When you add pavement, you have to add water retention unless you already have enough there to compensate for that. So those are the 2 change orders in a nutshell. We're happy to answer any questions you have.
What's worst scenario? I mean, what could we expect?
I can jump into that. So the challenge with what we're dealing with on the project right now is soils issues are very challenging. Going with this, we're evaluating this based on it being a track. If this was a highway with the proof rolls that we were seeing, most geotechnical engineers would have said, we need to undercut this 2 feet and replace 2 feet of gravel in here to bridge these soils, which would be well far and above what we're talking about today. We're reviewing this to build a suitable surface for building a track that is going to see, we know there's going to be light vehicles on it. We know it needs to not move, so we don't have any settlement issues that did occur in the past with the existing track that's out there. So we're using that information based on what we're seeing in the field with everything, and that's partly, Mark mentioned the drying that we tried. We had the contractor disc up the dirt a little bit to get it to dry out. When we first did that, it improved quite a bit actually compared to when we first exposed the soil. So we're trying a lot of different things to keep the costs down while being, cost conscious on this. At the same time though, we don't want to roll the dice too much with it and then end up having to pave it and then having it fail when we go to pave it. So what's in here and what Mark outlined is what we're asking for of the up to amount will give us some flexibility in the field in order to kind of, as we're doing those proof rolls, ideally starting tomorrow morning, to be able to get this closed up. We have rains in the forecast later on this week, so the goal really is to try to get it wrapped up and maybe not paved by then, but at least all the stone installed. And that dollar value is going to allow us to work with the contractor in the field to say, we're happy with where this area is at, but this area we need to take a little bit farther. We've kind of already done this with the contingency that was already built in when you awarded this to Abby. We had a 5% contingency in there. We did use a big portion of that already with where we're at. On the east side of the track, the soil borings that we had indicated that there was about 2 or 3 inches of gravel, and then beneath that there were soils that were, there's a tons per square foot is typically what's used when you're describing soil strength. Some of those borings indicated we had localized areas of like 1.5 tons per square foot. Other areas 2.5, 3. 2.5 and 3 are generally what you want to see when you're having some of those tests done. The 1.5 indicates low strength soils, and we anticipated some of that when we bid this, but not to the extent that we saw once we got everything pulled up. Even that stone base layer, looking at this after the fact, it kind of, there wasn't really a lot of stone out there, so I think when they originally built this track, they kind of just used a thin stone layer to level it off, and they used a lot of different materials. There's limestone out there, there's cinders out there, there's a black material out there. So that first change that we made was to try to kind of merge that all together and have a more uniform base layer. So we're dealing with kind of 2 different bases now. The base on the west side, which is holding up pretty well, is more like a cinders and crushed items like that. Whereas the east side, there just wasn't a lot, and we're going to have a more uniform base now, and then this will take it a little farther as well to provide more support.
How far down did you guys go, like gravel-wise and stuff?
8 inches currently in those areas.
So it's A horizon?
Sorry?
And in the A horizon?
The 8 is what we did.
The A horizon of soils.
The soil, I'm not sure what the soils group is for this area. Yeah.
Dr. Bogan, where does, if we approve the up to amount and reach that maximum? Where's that put us in budget?
So just to sort of recap where we're at with the financial side of this project and that up to. So right now, we are looking at just over $127,000 if we use the entire 51.5. Now, that's not a totally true cost of what the project total will be, because we still have about just over $12,000 worth of contingency left. So if knowing that we have that 12,000 in contingency, knowing that if we had to go all in with change order 2 and change order 3 option B, taking out that what's left of the contingency, it puts the total project about $115,000 over the initial budget. It's more than we had anticipated. I do want to point out though that almost 75,000 of that is ordinance required by the county. And so when we look at, the original contract was just over $816,000 for this, that up to $51,500 becomes a relatively smaller amount to ensure, the integrity of the project in moving forward for that uniform base.
When we first had these discussions and approved it, I think we had we had A, B, and C as far as spend, right? Our highest level that we
Was $2.7 million, and
yeah.
we ended at just under 1.3.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and that 2.7, that was, looking at this track and saying, we're gonna build a whole new track in another location.
Yeah.
So, there were two very different projects, but we are still well below that project cost.
So where we're at right now, that up to 51, do you feel we're good as far as what you've seen, or?
Yeah, I think with what we've seen, and we actually did kind of a test track of this where we put down what we would plan to do on a thinner layer, and it performed pretty well. So, by doing that, and then also, seeing what we're seeing out there right now with the drying, I just walked it this afternoon before coming here. It's definitely locking up compared to what it looked like, a week ago when we were messing around and kind of playing in the dirt a little bit. But that's kind of our estimation at this time, yes.
And oh, sorry.
So you used the term pretty well a couple times, and I'm like, I want great, I want outstanding.
Yeah, so this is what that 51 is for, is to
Okay.
get to the area, so we are comfortable that it's going to be suitable for putting the gravel down, installing the asphalt, and then ultimately
There's just gonna
installing
be
the
some
track.
areas that are gonna be more stronger than other areas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the life expectancy of this track, then what are we looking at, like?
So the track itself will need to be resurfaced.
Yeah,
That will
or the
be
ground underneath.
the
Foundation.
asphalt underneath. I would anticipate you're going to get 30 years out of it, based on what we're proposing right now.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's perfect.
Yep, that's what I wanted to hear.
That's what
Just
the
to
director
clarify
did.
too, this work, once this work happens, they will be able to pave, and move forward with the project.
Yes.
So, once this is done, there's no additional soil or substrate or any of those issues. This does rectify that and allows the project to go forward with the paving.
Now, are you behind because of the rain and stuff, or are we still at?
Yeah, there's some of that, and then also, I'm just waiting to be able to come to the board and talk to you guys about it and see, are we gonna use some additional funds on this and move forward with this? Or are we just gonna say, this is as good as we're gonna get, close it up and be done? So there's some of it, just waiting for board schedules and stuff too. But yeah, the rains kind of set us back a little bit.
And that 74,000, the county's mandating that regardless, so that's not something we can skate around one way or the other. That's just,
Correct, yeah.
that's sunk cost at this point.
Yeah, we have no choice, right?
Yeah, so.
Compliance.
Can you remind me how we're doing on schedule, time-wise? Like, how are we doing timeline-wise?
Yeah, initially when it was awarded, I believe the goal was to have it done last Friday.
Yeah.
When I say have it done, I mean the paving portion of it. We still have to get the track surface put on, but the paving portion of it was supposed to be done last Friday. So, if we were to move ahead with this change order 3, we're looking at having it paved, not tomorrow, but the following Tuesday. That's kind of the but that's also weather dependent. So if they run into some weather problems this week, that might be a challenge for the contractor, just to be fair to them, you know.
So we're about 10 days behind the initial schedule.
Okay.
As of right now, though, we've been in constant communication with our athletic director, and we do believe that the project is moving forward so that, you know, the first football game will not be
That's what I was gonna ask.
impacted.
Okay.
So it's not gonna impact, as of now, we're
As
good.
of now, the
As of
football
now.
season,
Okay.
we did make a decision last week to move Nights Under the Lights, that happens on August 26th, off of the track. So that will not be happening on the track, but so far that is the only event on campus that has been available.
That's kind of a bummer though, right? 'Cause it would've been cool on the new track,
I
right?
know. We're gonna have to, everyone get your running shoes and we're all going out there one day.
We'll celebrate.
But it likely won't impact football, and gym uses it, or PE uses it too, right? So, but they won't be able to use it yet then. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, and just so everyone understands too, that what we're talking about in terms of wrapping up the paving, that the track surface will come quite a bit later. So that's likely not gonna occur until September or October. But the asphalt will be installed into grade and you'll be able to walk on it similar to a parking lot. But the actual track surface will be later, when we get, the track surface company to come out. That's separate then from the contract from Abby.
And we do have that built into the timeline. There's the 2 week of away games that's when we have that timeline set for that track paving portion to occur.
Okay. Great.
Other questions? Concerns? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that the Board of Education directs the administration to approve the change orders for Abbey paving for the purpose of changes needed since the beginning of the project in the amount of $74,692.27 for change order number 2 and up to $51,500 for change order number 3, option B.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. McCauley?
Aye.
Dr. Lawler?
Aye.
Mr. Mankivsky?
Aye.
Mr. Kleisner?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. The change order is approved.
Thanks, Mr. Payne.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I'm a
Thank you.
believer, one night you're gonna come in here, Mr. Payne, you're gonna say, it's amazing, we just had all this new stuff happen. I can't believe it.
Then we'll plan the ribbon cutting.
That's right.
Okay, next up is the third item of new business, which is the approval of resolutions authorizing engagement of legal counsel. Dr. Layden?
I will start it for a second, and I'll turn it back over to Dr. Bogan. If you recall, last fall, when we were going through other contracts and other timelines of contracts, the board asked for our consideration to look into legal counsel, some of the history, how did we end up with the current company that we have, current services that we have. So we did some information, and then officially on October 30th last fall, the board did ask us to bring back opportunities and to go out to bid formally. And Dr. Fuchs started that process last fall into the spring, and then now we're at the point where we've gone through the process, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Bogan, and you can talk through the RFP, the interviews, and then the recommendation for tonight.
Sure. So back at the May 29th meeting, the board did approve the request for proposal timeline, and that included a couple of things. June 20th, we actually made the proposals available and made those public. All of our firms were required to submit them sealed no later than July 18th at 2 p.m. And then we had set out in the timeline that we would go through an evaluation process with those, an initial screening, and then we had selected August 5th for interviews, to go through an interview process. And so as part of that, we did end up receiving 11 proposals were submitted, so a substantial amount. Sometimes when we have things, you know, you get 2 or 3 or maybe a handful, but we did have 11 firms, mostly through northern Illinois, but some from downstate as well. And so as part of that screening process, it was a team of administrators as well as board Member Simmons and Vice President Mankivsky were a part of that process. And so we did go through a screening process with each of the proposals to determine which ones met our requirements, and then who we thought we would bring back for interviews. And so we ended up choosing 4 proposals, 4 firms to come in and interview. And those were Hodges and Loizzi, Kriha Bocek, Addison and Denolfo, and Miller Tracy. And so all of those firms came in and interviewed. They went through a process. We had about 12 questions to ask each of them. Each firm had about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. And so based on that, we are recommending that the board approve Kriha Bocek. They are a firm, they're a smaller firm. They do have a team of dedicated attorneys that solely represent school districts. And so the only thing that they do is school law and represent school districts. Collectively, they have over 160 years of experience. One of their founding partners was former general counsel for the Illinois Administrators Association. They have a attorney that works with them that's part of the firm who is a former special education administrator. They just have a lot of depth regarding school law and I think what we were looking for and what the board had asked for as part of the RFP. So attached to this, we do have their engagement letter as well as the resolution that we were asking for the board's approval. Are there any questions that I could answer, or Dr. Layden, or even Mr. Mankivsky, who is part of the interview process and the selection team?
Yeah, thank you for that. I'd like to see if Board Vice President Mankivsky, any comments, anything you'd like to share about the process or the findings?
Process was very open, very transparent. We looked at each of the firms thoroughly, and based on our needs and culture, this firm appeared to be the best fit in terms of the services we will need relative to the cost we will incur. I mean, just balancing those together, I believe this will give us the best representation possible, or more effectively, the best counsel. Because we try not to go into court. We can, we will, but my sense was in considering all of the proposals and the presentations, this firm, Kriha Bocek, best matches our needs.
So is cost comparable to what we've been at, currently with our current firm? And I know that we just got through teachers' contracts. We got a couple of years of breathing room. Where are they at from that standpoint too? Because I know that's a lengthy process. I mean, you guys went through it yourselves, so I'm sure that came up in conversation during the interviews as well.
Yeah, the representation, at least with respect to collective bargaining, we're not going to see that for 3 more years.
Yeah.
Unless we.
Yeah, SPEAK would be first, followed by KEA.
That's because we're 2 years into the SPEAK contract.
Correct.
And then another 2 years after that
So
for teachers.
in terms of the expertise and matching that expertise to our legal issues that we come up with here, it was the best match that we could see. The best match for the cost involved.
Did you can I ask, who did you get a chance to talk to? Was it partners, associates, like how many folks did you get on?
Most of them were partners.
Yeah, so
Well, good.
each
So you
of
know.
the
Yeah.
firms had at least one partner
Okay.
available, and each firm brought multiple people from their firm. So, you know, everyone had a partner, everyone had at least one associate, if not two partners, two associates with them, so it was a mix. Just in terms of cost on all of the proposals, there were no outliers, so every single proposal was sort of in was within a range. Some were on a little bit higher side of the range, and some were on the lower. This firm, as compared to the current council, is a little bit higher, but still within a range, right? If we talk about bands sort of within $20 to $25 on a sliding scale, it's within that.
Okay,
So.
right, so it's pretty negligible, I mean, overall. It's nothing that's gonna break the bank.
And weighed against the quality.
Absolutely.
The quality of the
Yeah.
council and the suitability of the council for, the legal counsel for what our district's needs
Yeah.
are. It just seems to be the best fit.
Yeah.
It seemed to be the best fit.
I would also share that Dr. Atkins, Mrs. Eggleston, and Dr. Rolwing were also part of that process. I can't remember, Dr. Bogan, if you mentioned that at the beginning, but they were also a part of the interview process. So it was a well-rounded team that interviewed.
And I blew it, and I apologize, I wasn't there for it.
I wasn't gonna bring that up.
I wanted to call it out, I'm sorry, I couldn't make it.
Yeah.
Important pizza business.
Sure, just slide.
So, assuming we approve this and we sign this engagement letter, because I know you guys work very closely with the legal counsel, I'm assuming we'll be assigned a point of contact, like our previous attorney. Have they assigned that yet, and
Yes,
is there plans?
So we do have, Sarah Bochek, one of the partners, is our assigned, would be our assigned contact. However, we are welcome as the board, as administrators, to work with any of their attorneys in their firm. While they are all generalists, some attorneys in the firm do specialize in certain things. So whether it's labor issues or student discipline or special ed related matters, we are always welcome to work with that individual attorney, but Sarah Bochek would be the main contact. And then if approved, they also have an onboarding process that they will go through that would include time at a board retreat, time with administration to move forward.
That's what I was wondering, because they're essentially our attorneys.
Yeah.
And
So there
it'd
would
be
be
nice
an
to know.
opportunity for
Yeah.
for all of you to
That'd be
know.
cool.
Yeah. Okay.
And our policy does outline that it's the superintendent and the board president who initially has conversations, but what we have done at different times when there have been different situations, different reasons to call, we do have Mrs. Eggleston will be the first person to call, or Dr. Atkins or Dr. Bogan, based on the situation, based on what we need to learn, but typically they would check with me first. I would say, please go ahead and make that call, and then we provide the internal updates after each of those calls to try to build that the corporate knowledge. That way, when there is an example or an opportunity that takes place, we learn from that, and we don't pigeonhole the answer. We share it among the entire team, so that way if something similar happens again, we start to build that corporate knowledge and corporate information that we can share regularly with each other.
Okay. Any further discussion?
No, thank you guys for your
Yeah,
11,
thank you.
11 responses is a lot of additional work in interviewing, and I know that's a long process, so thank you guys all for
It's
putting
the
that
most
up
we've had since I've been here for any RFP.
for any.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
And I appreciate your guys' insights, so thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, hearing no further discussion, I will entertain a motion that the Board of Education approves the resolution authorizing engagement of legal counsel with Kriya Bochek.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Dr. Lawler.
Aye.
Mr. Vankowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kleisner.
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. McCauley.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. We have new legal counsel. All right, the fourth item of new business is the approval of 1.0 FTE for a fourth grade teacher at Kaneland Blackberry Creek.
Go right to Dr. Atkins.
Dr. Atkins.
He's gone to position.
Good evening. So I'm back again to talk with the board about additional staffing needs in the district. I often share at the minimum staffing plan in March that student enrollment doesn't happen in pockets, that is typically spread out until last week, when we had enrollment happen in a pocket at fourth grade at Blackberry Creek. Fourth grade at Blackberry Creek was at 25-1. The targeted class size is 24-1, so 25 is within our tolerance, if you will, but with those additional 3 students at that one grade at that one building, that would put us at 26 and 27. The remaining fourth grades across the district at other buildings are at 22. So as we look at that, I know the board has asked in the past, is this a have to do or a prefer to do, want to do? This is not a have to do, but it is something that I am recommending to the board to approve because it is in the best interest of our fourth graders at Blackberry Creek to have that additional section.
Did we receive an email specifically about this one?
I believe you would have, because given the timing, we did have to move forward with sectioning and staffing.
Okay.
Because school starts in 2 days. So we are here to get it approved by the board. The board could say no, but then we would have to undo some of the work just given some of the time frame involved.
Yes, you did.
Okay, that's what I thought, yeah.
And not to diminish any of it, but it typically happens every year at some level. We'll receive feedback from individuals saying, hey, I think we need this.
So what would the class sizes be then?
They would be, I have it in there, 18-1.
Sorry,
That's okay,
I was trying to do it in my head.
18-1. So they would be lower, but again, when we're looking at 26 and 27, the other thing that I'd point out, and I think the board well knows, we did add new language in our contract this year. Again, there isn't an objectifiable per se equation for this, but we do want to factor in the composition of the students. And what that means, or the conversation about that was the academic needs, the social emotional needs. When we look at the cohort of students, this is in the best interest of our kids.
Does this have any kind of other, like, ripple effect to the other grades or other schools where these class sizes are now 18-1 versus 24 or 22-1, 24-1
Sure.
as a standard?
I think it would allow us the capacity to have more students show up at Blackberry Creek and be enrolled in fourth grade without needing to come back to the board. I don't know that there would be much of a ripple effect to the other sites because they are also at 22-1, 2 underneath the targeted class size.
So they're not going to come back and be like, well,
No,
we want
you know,
18-1.
there's always a comparative.
Yeah.
My oldest is starting her first year of teaching in fourth grade with 34 students. So, you know, it's all perspective.
Yes.
It's all perspective.
Yes, it is.
But no, I do not anticipate
Okay.
any ripple effects to other classrooms, other buildings across the district with the additional FTE.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm 100% for this, but I get nervous budget-wise. Where,
If you're looking at me, that is a valid concern. You know, it does push us over what we're anticipating. Since we know about it, you will see this reflected in the final budget that's presented in just a few weeks here. So
September.
all of these
September.
changes will be captured. What it does to the overall projected deficit, it does increase it. And so it just makes it that we have more difficult conversations or other conversations about that, knowing that this is a need.
And we were going to engage in those conversations regardless, based on the tentative budget that was approved, and then going back to final budget, knowing that there was a structural deficit that we're going to work on and bring recommendations to the board.
I was just gonna say, Aaron, I agree with you 100%. This is always a balance game with the play. Just personally, and how I rationalize it, this is the thing that we do primarily, right? So if we're gonna go over in budget, I usually can rationalize and say, well, if we're doing it for students and teachers, that's where we should do it, right? Because that's why we're here. But I'm with you, it's always a struggle. And it's like the one known that we can control usually, right? Like we try really hard to control personnel because it's our biggest line item in our budgets.
I agree 100%. It's about the kids, and at this point, if we're going to go over, this is a primary goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion that the Board of Education approve the additional one FTE for a fourth grade teacher at Kaneland Blackberry Creek.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Mankowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kleisner.
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. McCauley.
Aye.
Dr. Lawler.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. And now that it's passed, I just want to share with you guys, I was at the thing this morning, and an individual, I never give names, came up to me and thanked me ahead of time. We hadn't approved yet, but thanked me genuinely, like it was a genuine thank you, because there was concern about this. So it's nice to hear that from, the individuals, so. All right, the fifth item of new business is the updated approval of additional 3 FTE paraprofessionals to support remote contract school psychologists and school social worker positions. And Dr. Atkins.
And what I would just share briefly before Dr. Atkins shares, the amended part, that's okay. The amended part is that it was at 2.5 and now it's 3. So it wasn't that it wasn't a line item and it went to 3 from nothing, it went from 2.5 to 3, just to clarify.
And I can explain that process. So differently than the last board item that we just approved, this is a have to, and I can explain how that have to works. So we had in our original minimum staffing plan in March, a psychologist for Kaneland John Shields. We approved an additional psychologist based on getting 32 more kids in the pipeline. That doesn't count those we anticipate coming in. That's a hard count. We approved an additional psych to be shared between Harder and the high school a couple of board meetings ago. There are 0 candidates for these positions. 0. And it's important to know that that's not candidates that have applied to Kaneland. We have the ability with our online application software to look at what we call a position pool, which would be psychs who maybe applied to a different district but not Kaneland. And we can cold call those people, which we have done for a variety of positions, but there are none. So we don't have the ability to have a candidate pool. And so when that happens, because we have to meet IEP minutes, it's required, it's law, we have to. Because we have to do testing, because we have to do case studies and functional analysis of behavior and all the different things that psychologists do, we go to a contract agent. Okay, so we do have the ability to go to a contract agent and get the position filled by someone who is not part of the district but instead works for this contract agency. A new dynamic in the contract agency world is remote work. The psychologists, the OTs, the specialists that work in public schools through an agency no longer come into the school physically. They do it remotely. When that happens, I need to have somebody with the child on site to supervise the child. I can't put a child into an office for a psychologist to do testing without an adult there to monitor them. And so if you recall during the time of illness that shall not be named, we used to have hybrid staff who were at home, but then we had to have a body here to supervise. So a similar dynamic, we would be using paraprofessional support because the certified person is there with then the classified staff, the paraprofessional. When the students may not be receiving direct services from the psychologist or the OT, then that paraprofessional would be utilized elsewhere in the building. We have plenty of need to go around. And then at the conclusion of the year, we would reevaluate where we're at with those 3 paraprofessional roles. The goal is to get a person hired. The position remains open. We will continue to monitor applicants in the candidate pool. If somebody pops up, they move into the area with their spouse or something, or if they're a December grad, we will be all over it to try to get that person and recruit them to Kaneland. However, I would tell you historically, I wouldn't anticipate additional candidates until spring of next year for the following school year, if you think about the traditional graduation timeline. Yes, Dr. Lee?
If we're able to find one of those candidates, are we able to cancel the contracted services?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's written into the contract with the contract agent that were we to fill it with an actual person, then our contract with the agency would terminate when that new person starts. And again, I can't underscore enough, our goal is to get someone certified, staffed in our district that becomes part of our community, part of our family, and reports to work to a building every day.
And that would then eliminate the 3 FTE for paraprofessionals to support the contract.
Correct, and we would cross that bridge when we get to it. There are mechanisms to put into place to look at your total staffing allotments and whether or not all of the staff are needed from one year to the next.
Can I go off this specific topic and ask the question of how many paraprofessionals, or how many, is there other remote contract stuff that we're doing currently that does require something similar to this?
Yeah, so we currently have a remote contract for a maternity leave for a speech language pathologist, but that agency is able to provide not only the remote SLP, but then also a certified remote SLP specific assistant to be on site.
Okay.
So that's built into that contract, but that's also a maternity leave. We're not replacing the employee for that. That's just to cover the FMLA leave.
But I mean, historically, right, contracting something out is always going to be more expensive than hiring directly
Yes,
on site.
very much so.
So that's the only other contractors that we're currently using?
I think so. Just the two psychs and the OT, just those three. Yep.
So to build off of Ryan's question, these three then, and this is very hypothetical, but we find someone, these three get maybe moved around? I mean, how does their contract work with that? Are paraprofessionals on like a year-long contract, or are they like?
Typically they are,
That's what I thought.
but under the law, under the school code, we can serve I think it's a 30-day notice to reduce in
Oh, so you
force.
can reduce force, okay.
Because the position is not required anymore
Correct.
based on this.
The causation for the position no longer is there,
No, I'm with you.
so. And again, hypothetically, if we were able to fill that position in October, that could be a discussion. You would hear a recommendation from me. If we filled that position for the last week of school,
Right.
by the time we went through a process, it wouldn't matter. So a lot of variables there.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? No? Okay. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion that the Board of Education approves an additional 3.0 FTE paraprofessionals to support remote contract school psychologist and school social worker positions.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Fleisner?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Mr. McCauley?
Aye.
Dr. Lawler?
Aye.
Mr. Mankivsky?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. The additional 3.0 FTE professionals are approved. Thank you, Dr. Atkins.
May I give just a quick forecast as well, Dr. Layden, about 2 additional things the board should know about? Because you asked me last time, is there anything else on the horizon? And at that time, the answer was, I don't know, not really. I would just want to give you a heads up. You didn't ask that question, but I'll answer it for you proactively. Under the law, if we have 20 students of a specific language at a specific site, we need to hire a bilingually certified teacher. We have 18 students at the high school who speak the same language. If we were to get 2 more students, and we did a 3-year look back, we typically get 1 to 2 students from this language group in the fall. Were we to get 2 more students, we were required under the law to hire a bilingual teacher. So know that might then be something that the board hears about. And also know that in talking to Mrs. Eggleston about students in the pipeline who might need additional supports, we do have a student that might need one-on-one support coming up as well. So that'd be a paraprofessional role. So there are 2 things on our radar that have come up in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. One would be a bilingually certified teacher, and one would be a one-on-one aide. But there are some question marks as to whether or not that will actually happen. On the special ed side, we have to have the IEP meeting. On the bilingual side, we would need to have students enroll. So both of those would be have-tos though as well, just so the board's aware.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Atkins. Mrs. Eggleston, for your work on those.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Okay, the 6th and
final item of new business is the approval of policies from press upon first reading. Dr. Layton.
Yes, first, I'm happy to share that this one doesn't cost us any money. It's always a relief to share a new business item that doesn't cost us money. As a reminder, we have press policies that generally send out a quarterly update. This is the quarterly update. There's another one that is going to follow. Actually, we have it ready, and we're going to bring it. It's on Title IX. If you remember the previous press policy, I think it was 114, had 6 or 7 related to Title IX. So we did the required training that we have to do. Maureen Lemon from her firm came in 2 weeks ago, met with all of our administrators, and any continued training that we need to have to be in compliance with Title IX, we'll make sure that we follow that and share those updates with the board. Please know that this update tonight, these press policies that we do on first reading, and we do need recommendation and action, there is nothing in it that requires a board decision. We would typically share, please turn to whatever policy in the page, and we would give you the recommendation, and we'd give you the law behind it. But these tonight are just all reference, footnote, updates, and any code changes. There is nothing that the board needs to formally give a specific answer on. So these are 5-year updates, references, and footnotes, endnotes, as you saw. So they are all went through cabinet. Once the board approves these, it comes back on second reading, and then we take it back and we provide the training and the updates that we need to do to make sure we're in compliance with any of these changes. So they're at this time, unless you have questions, there's not any specific policy that we need to go into or get any action as a result of. And then, like I said, like I shared, this comes back at the next meeting on second reading, and then the first meeting in September, we will bring the next round of press policies on first reading. Are there any questions?
Questions, discussions? I think with Dr. Lawler out, we still have a majority, right, so we can take a vote?
Sure do.
Okay. So then at this time, I will entertain a motion that the Board of Education approves the recommended policy changes from press upon first reading.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. McCauley.
Aye.
Mr. Mankivsky.
Aye.
Mr. Kleisner.
Aye.
Oh, sorry. Why did I do that? Okay, we're good.
Carries forward.
Carries 4-0. Okay, so it is now time for the superintendent/board report. Dr. Layton.
Yes, I have a couple that I want to share, and then Dr. Rowing has one, and I know Dr. Bogan has at least one. But wanted to thank Board Member Gonzalez and Mankivsky this morning, being able to come to our opening day kickoff. We have all of our staff in the cafeteria. We go over highlights for the year, we go over any changes, major updates, and it's always nice to have a couple board members, administrators there to share and welcome. So thank you for coming out today. I don't know if there's anything you would like to share from your perspective. I know you did earlier, but anything you wanted to share for that update?
No, it was great to meet with faculty and other administrators beforehand. It just reinforced to me the quality of our staff here at all levels, both paras, teachers, administrators, and the positive culture that has been coming to Kaneland it's coming to fruition. I'm just very, very pleased with the conversations I had, and it's being recognized by paras, by teachers.
That's great. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. And also Wednesday, as Sarah shared as well, we have our first day of school. We'll be out, we'll take pictures. So those of you that want to see our awesome students coming out of buses and coming in for the day one of school, Mr. Chavez does a really nice job with updates on social media and the new weekly update that he's going to have. The nightly news, the new weekly newsletter that he's going to share every Monday that went out today for the first time, and then also KCN pictures as well. We'll accompany that later this week. We do have 2 committees that are back up and running now that we're back in school. We do not need board representation on the foundation, but the first foundation meeting of the year is Tuesday, August 20th, and our first CAC meeting of the year. I'm noting it because it's before our next school board meeting. That's Thursday, August 22nd. We have 2 or 3 traditional topics that we will share, and I'll send the agenda always goes out to all board members as well. And so that will be the first CAC meeting of the year. And I'm happy to share that of our committees this year, every spring we do an all call for new committee members. We do have about 5 or 6 new committee members across all of our committees, Foundation, Kaneland Connects, FAC, FPC, and Dr. Bogan's FAC. So didn't have a huge increase, but we do have 5 or 6 new committee members, which is always nice to get a new perspective and new background from other community members and families. So those are the upcoming meetings. And again, the 22nd, I'll send a reminder out to the board and you'll get the agenda prior to. That starts at 7 o'clock at Kaneland High School.
Thank you.
And those are mine. You're welcome.
Dr. Bogan.
Sure.
You have a microphone right now, Dr. Rowling, if you want to work to the microphone.
In the very back of your packet, I provided you with a handout this evening. It is on the A&R Partnering Project. I just wanted to give a quick overview. Currently, the school district does have a natural gas pipeline that runs across the Kaneland High School campus on the east end, sort of from those community soccer fields back through the FFA fields as well. TC Energy is working with the A&R Pipeline Company on a major project that they are proposing that will affect 3 states here in the Midwest and will add about 70 new miles of new pipeline, as well as repairing existing pipeline, adding substations, all of these things. And so they are in the very early stages of this project. They did anticipate and they did file their initial paperwork with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, also known as FERC. Earlier this spring, back in March, they are looking to file their final paperwork at the end of this year, so at the end of 2024 in December. And they are not anticipating any construction starting happening possibly till at least Q3 of 2026 or later. So they have been in the process right now of reaching out to organizations, communities that will be impacted by this project with some initial information. I have spoken with Damon Wright, who's with TC Energy, and he has offered to come and present to the board as this project progresses to be able to answer any questions. But for now, I just wanted to give you sort of the project overview, a map of, this is the large map of all the areas that it will affect. But for us specifically, TC Energy would be looking to lay a new pipeline across our campus just west of where the 2 existing pipelines are. It's part of under the same ownership, under the same project.
Is it under?
It is not. So there would be a new easement area that would go into effect, and it's just west of the 2 existing. But they, like I said, they haven't filed the final paperwork, so we don't know. We just know what their anticipated plans are at this point.
So we don't have an idea of what the impact would be on the campus?
We do, at this point, we know that they anticipate it being that same direction across those community soccer fields and across the FFA fields. And so as part of the project, any area that they were to disturb, they are required to put back as they found it. For the FFA field, if we missed a planting season for that, they would reimburse for those crops lost.
So it'd be a new easement, though?
It would be on either side, yeah.
So they'd have to replace what they,
So
I heard you say that we have the state-of-the-art best soccer field in the country.
There's a dome there right now.
Maybe you could go into the east end of the track.
To replace, so, yeah, get those plans to them. So, but that's all I have on that.
Thank you. Dr. Rowling.
All right. This is, I think, first official time I've been at the microphone. It's fun. Fun day for me. All right. So the referendum planning committee met on July 31st to discuss how to move forward on the project. And the team identified some phases for the referendum. The first one is seeking public feedback, identified basically from now until likely late October. And then moving into evaluating the proposals, which would take us from November to January, where the board has to make a decision as to what the actual question would be. And then from January until April 1 would be essentially public outreach and promotion. And so really we talked a lot more about that first phase during this meeting. And during the seeking public feedback, the team will host a variety of public forums. We'd be identifying likely one at each elementary school, but also identifying public events, community events that we would be going out to. So rather than always asking people to come into us, we would be identifying community events that we'd be going out to, planning a little bit of a road show. We talked about, building, essentially having a mobile booth with some pictures and some financial things that we would want to share. So during that time, we'd be trying to provide a variety of constituents information to get the feedback on what they would be willing to support, so that we can inform the board on that. We can provide monthly updates as we go through that process. During evaluating the proposal phase, the team would summarize that public feedback, bring that to the board for discussion to help inform what the actual question, what the actual ask might be. And then during the public outreach and promotion, we would work with the Vote Yes group and host other forums to provide information and trying to make sure that the community has the best possible information to make that their choice. Obviously, as the school district, we have to live within certain boundaries, but working with that Vote Yes group and any other groups that would want to be supportive of the referendum. So that is essentially where we are. And obviously I'm new, and so knowing what the community events are is something I would be seeking input on. So if you have ideas, if you talk to your neighbors and say, bingo on Tuesday night at the VFW, then let us know, and we would evaluate which ones we can get to, and really try to reach out and get to those people that are not necessarily tied to the school district.
It's Friday night in Elber Lions Club.
That's the bingo?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Well, my wife loves bingo, so we could tie that into I'm sure, a fun date night. She'd love it. So, yeah.
Quick question. So we can't, as members of the Board of Education, we can't proactively go and advocate for well, I guess we can't in our official capacity.
Yeah.
But like when we're in the schools, because you were talking about like some community forums and stuff where we're having discussions.
Yeah, great question. The community forums, and as Dr. Rolwing shared that, when we provide those updates, we would let the board know too where all of these meetings are taking place and when they're taking place, and you're welcome to attend all of those. But those from our standpoint are only information seeking or information sharing. We're getting feedback or we're sharing information on projects, costs of projects, and then at that point, any of school officials, whether it's staff, board members, administrators, while in our official capacity during our work hours, we cannot advocate for, we can only inform. But if on a Saturday afternoon, we're doing a door hanging or calling or door to door, if it's as a volunteer, we can all do those. We just can't do them during the day-to-day work operations of our positions. Does that answer that?
Yeah, kind
As
of.
far
So
as
I'm
that?
wondering if I'm at Friday Night Bingo and I'm playing and we're talking about this stuff and they ask me a question in regards to like my thought process on putting it on the ballot, like to me, it's like a funny line because, like, I would give information from Adam's perspective, but also I kind of have that board member hat on. And so that line, you know what I mean? I'm just wondering, when we attend, what's the degree to which we can engage or should engage?
Well, the good thing is that if it's a school-related meeting, if it's a foundation meeting, CAC, board meeting, school day, those would be ones where it'd be only informing. If you're at a bingo outing or if you're at a community event that is not a board duty, you can wear either hat that you want.
Okay.
As long as it's not a responsibility of our work or of our duties, we can play the other role of advocacy as long as we're separating those two areas.
Is your main purpose to play bingo or to advocate? It's like, it's incidental.
Are you winning or are you losing?
Don't try and write it off.
And part of the process and the timing, as we shared, July didn't, we met, or the referendum planning committee team met, but there wasn't a lot of communication. Through the nightly news, there would be more of that, and we specifically wanted to wait till we got back to school. Because in the summer, we know people vacation, and they vacation from a lot of things, and rightfully so. Now that we're back, people will be re-engaged, and that's when we're gonna start to communicate some of these events and what these events will look like. Thank you for your first update.
Any other questions? All right, go Knights.
You did good.
Yeah.
We're trying to clap for his first.
So, I'm assuming that since Sarah already went, she's not, there's no update this time, right?
Correct.
But you're in the hot seat next time, and since you're the newbie, you're bringing cupcakes next time, right?
Homemade.
Some feedback we got at the end of last year was to kind of give you some more homework, right, for lack of a better term, to kind of go out and maybe, depending on what it is, you know, gauge it, probably heavy on the referendum stuff, you know, from a student perspective. And I got a junior, my daughter's gonna be a junior, so I know bathrooms is a big thing for her, so anyway, we'll probably end up, you know, continue giving you, or start giving you some kind of homework to go out and then be able to report back to us, you know, specifically. And if there's things that you think that we should be, you know, from a student perspective or teacher perspective or whatever, you know, definitely bring that stuff up too, right? Make it your own and what you think that we should be knowing about from a board. We're so far removed from high school and we live in a whole different world these days, so, you know, any perspective you have, I think is great. Okay, that's good.
Thank you, yeah, well said, sure, okay. Topics for future agendas, anything?
Just that, I don't know if that was a good idea or not, but I did like that they came out and briefed us. Like, it would be nice to, I don't know if there's like a rotation we could get, but it'd be nice to have some more regular correspondence with those folks.
I tend to agree to have it as an, I like the annual idea where we're brought up to date on what's going on.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's other partners that we could do that with too. They just were the first one to do it, so thanks.
So we'll have an annual first responder at a minimum, and if there are other topics that you'd like to have, please let us know, or if there's other information that we believe we should share, we'll make sure that we bring it to you as well. Is that fair?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it sounds like based on the conversation earlier, we're gonna be getting updates on the status,
Yes.
as this, situation progresses, but, I think what you were referring to, it's from 1,000 feet up, looking at overall the situation, yeah.
I think everybody nodded, but I just want to make sure I have an official consensus.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Anything else?
Recognition of retiring administrators as a topic for future.
Okay.
Why, who's retired?
Who's retiring?
Anyone special?
Depends on who you ask, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Cake, cookies, or pie?
Yeah, oh yeah.
all right,
Thank you. It will be on a future agenda.
okay. Hearing no others, public comments, do we have anybody? Oh, all right. Well, in that case, I'm super excited. The board is not scheduled for closed session. There's no closed sessions. No closed session scheduled for tonight's meeting. After the vote to adjourn, the recording of tonight's meeting is concluded. It is now 8:06 PM, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are now adjourned.